What is your major malfunction? Didn't Mommy and Daddy show you enough attention when you were a child?
Let's play this backwards and see if it gets any better.
Let's get down to business. What do you say?
Show me the money!
Always be closing. Always be closing.
You're now listening to Boots to Business with Daniel Hrabowski.
And welcome, everybody, to Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Hrabowski. You can listen to us every Sunday on WFLA Orlando from 5 to 6 p.m. You can find us on the dial at 93.1, 94.1, or 107.7. You can find us online at any of the socials. Just search Boots to Business. Or you can find us on the website at www.boots-to-business.com. The first part of today's show is brought to you by the Insurance Claim HQ, powered by the Hair Shannara Trial Attorneys. Their commitment is to help make you whole again after a disaster. Call 844-252-4684 or visit them at insuranceclaimhq.com. So in studio today with me, as always, Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, hello.
And we have Jared Shearman from
Insurance Claim HQ.
That's right. So, Jared, let's talk about you today. I love when we have guests that have a lot of things that we can actually discuss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Odds are we're going to run out of time. We're going to run in these segments. So first off, let's tell everybody who's listening, obviously the Insurance Claims HQ has come into Florida, right? So yes. You are an attorney who is licensed to practice law here in Florida specifically,
No,
right?
I'm licensed in Louisiana.
Are you licensed?
Yes.
Okay.
I am, able to be admitted pro hoc vice into
Mm-hmm.
most states. I'm very familiar with the law in this practice area in most states. However, I am admitted currently only in Louisiana.
Gotcha.
And that's changing in the near future.
And most people, I know myself included, were somewhat ignorant to how lawyers are able to maneuver in different spaces. So, so tell us a little bit about yourself. So how long have you been a lawyer? What's your passion? Like, how did you end up working on, first party litigated claims? Like, let's go down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I'm a third generation insurance attorney. So I kind of grew up in, my dad's side of the family is a lot of attorneys. My grandfather did medical malpractice. My father does personal injury. That's where I started my career doing personal injury, and I do first party property damage claims. I am a former prosecutor for the state of Louisiana that focused mainly on domestic violence crimes and illegal firearms on Bourbon Street, which is a very serious problem in New Orleans.
It's oddly specific.
Yes. Those are what I really focused on prosecuting because I felt like it had the biggest impact on safety and preventing unnecessary deaths.
So, and now you're from New Orleans or Baton Rouge? Where are you from?
I'm from the suburbs just outside of New Orleans.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So why'd you transition from that? That's a very big difference.
Sure. So I started off helping a friend's parents after a hailstorm a couple of years after starting to practice, and the impact that had on their lives was really powerful, and that's what kind of led me down this path. And then after I graduated, after I left the district attorney's office, I did some insurance defense work, and it led me to a deposition where a plaintiff had a claim that should have been filed, had a suit that should have been filed against his real estate agent, but was filed against a foundation repair company instead, and he was SOL as a result, and it was devastating. And I realized that insurance defense was not for me, regardless of the money.
Defending the insurance side is
yes,
but that's you touched on a really good point though, in that you don't realize how much of an impact it has on people until they have a claim that does not go their way, and they're forced to pay for something that's thousands of dollars.
Their home.
Well, and a lot of these folks, the size of their insurance claim check is, some of these people, it's the largest check they've ever seen in their life.
Absolutely.
And they never would have been able to properly repair their stuff if it wasn't for somebody advocating for them. So whether it was a PA like me or a lawyer like Jared, like, you don't realize the impact that has on people until you win a few of those. And then you're like, you know what, there's a little bit of a dopamine jump here. Like, let's keep doing this, because you can lay your head down on the pillow at night going, I'm doing something that is positive for people.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely. And I mean, look, personal injury work was certainly rewarding, but and both careers, you're blessed to have a career where you can make a really good living helping people and businesses. But with this line of work, I find that it is by far the most rewarding, regardless of the type of claim that I'm handling at any given time. I am, when successful, able to help at least two parties and have a tremendous impact on their livelihood. The
Right.
client and the service provider.
Yeah.
The service provider that's repairing the damaged property.
Yeah.
Every time I succeed, a client can rebuild their property, their home, or their business, and a construction business now has a client that can afford to pay for their services, and they have a job that they otherwise may not have been able to perform due to the client being unable to afford their services. While most of the files that I may personally handle at this point in my career as the sole handling attorney are large losses, like industrial buildings, commercial buildings, hospitality, multifamily, retail. I am still the attorney overseeing a lot of residential losses and small business
Right.
building losses, alongside another handling attorney with our office, and we'll be we'll be presenting the case with the primary handling attorney to a jury if necessary.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second. So,
Yeah, and
there's-
I want to tell you that honestly, those wins are the most rewarding and
Oh, yeah,
bring me
I'm
the
sure.
most joy. Because when I succeed in resolving those files, people's homes and small businesses, I am helping them restore their largest investments, their
because
life
that
investments.
because that's it. I mean, the biggest purchase that most people make is their
Right.
home, right? And if you're a business owner and you're lucky enough to be able to afford to buy a strip center or a hotel or whatever, that's bringing income into you. And so, and there are so many facets to dealing with insurance claims, and then there's so many points that we get to dispute levels when we're talking about them, and the lawyers are able to take that stuff legitimately to court and have it sometimes tried in front of a jury. And so we can't, as public adjusters, we have a threshold where we have to stop because we can't practice law, right?
Right. You can't argue.
Right.
Right.
And so the things that Jared does and a lot of other lawyers in our space, they will, a lot of times they will take on claims before it needs to go to lit and try to resolve it before litigation becomes a conversation. And then they can, if they're already the handling attorney, it's a seamless transition into litigation. Their fees change, and that's all talked to people. That's all expressed to the insured and the clients beforehand. But you touched on something that I want to kind of spend a little bit of time talking about is the contractor base. Just as much as it is important for these homeowners to be indemnified, the provider of the service a lot of times will do the work before the carrier has agreed to a scope. A lot of times they'll do the work because if they don't, there's going to be the potential for further damages,
Right.
and they're left holding the bag a lot of times. And so when you effectively negotiate a claim, you're not only indemnifying the insured, but you're making sure a contractor gets paid, and then the trickle down. The subcontractors that they use end up getting paid. They're able to put food on their kids' plates and all these things. So there's a lot of moving pieces in handling an insurance claim.
Yeah, and that's something I want to get to a little bit later in this show. The need for companies to be willing to do what you just described.
Yeah.
But I think something that goes largely unspoken about. When we come back, I want to talk about like the real scope of the impact that the bad faith claims handling has on people's lives.
Yep. And bad faith is a monster. So we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that. My name is Daniel Rabowski. You're listening to Boots to Business. We'll see you guys here in a few minutes.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
And welcome back to Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. In studio with me today is Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
And Jared Shearman with the Insurance Claim HQ.
Howdy.
And this portion of today's show is brought to you by Shield Tech Roofing Solutions. You can find shieldtechroofing.com. You can find them at shieldtechroofing.com. They're your premier destination for commercial roofing excellence when it comes to protecting your commercial property. Trust in their top-tier roof coatings and expert repair services. Again, you can find them at shieldtechroofing.com. Before we went to break in the last segment, we were starting to get into some conversation about what exactly is a bad faith claim and how impactful is a bad faith claim when it comes to insurance. So can we start at least real quick? And I know you have some notes that you want to kind of go down.
Mm-hmm.
What is a bad faith claim? Let's start.
Sure. A bad faith claim, it varies in terms of definition from state to state, but it's ultimately a claim that has been handled by the insurance company in a manner that constitutes a breach of their duties to their insured of good faith and fair dealing in terms of A, the investigation of the claim, B, their attempts to resolve the claim, and C, how fairly they pay the claim or interpret language in the insurance contract, the policy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in layman's terms, that is just anytime your carrier is working in a capacity that is not
In your benefit.
Well, not necessarily to your benefit. So what we see is they'll
It's them
hire
being unfair.
Yeah, we'll see them hire somebody who has no right doing an inspection. We'll see them bring out an MEP engineer to do structures. We'll see because they're hoping that you're ignorant, and you're like, well, the guy says he's an engineer. Yeah, but he's not the right engineer.
Or they'll provide an engineer a scope that's designed to lead to a predetermined negative result for the client.
Yeah, they're just looking for backup paperwork because they've already decided they're not paying.
Oftentimes, it's to sum it up, it's generally negligent or intentional mishandling or failure to properly investigate. But I'd like to really get back to the impact that those situations have on people and small business owners in terms of their homes and small businesses. Like we were saying, these are people's biggest life investments. I mean, most of the time, over 90% of their life investments, right? And when they've purchased this insurance policy to protect those, huge life assets, when an insurance company fails to fulfill their obligations under that policy when something happens to those assets, it really severely impacts these people's lives in ways that are rarely realized until it happens to you. It causes severe depression, anxiety. It puts strains on their mental well-being and also their relationships and work lives. It causes stress on their marriages, can cause suicidal thoughts, decreases in productivity at their job, or decreases in profits for the small business owners, which can put their employees' job security on the line or force them to continue to pay wages when the business is not making as much money to justify that level of expenses, all the way to impacting their kids' grades or their kids' extracurricular performance like sports or other extracurriculars that can help them get scholarships to colleges.
And this is an element that the lawyers tend to look a lot further into because when they're prepping a file for trial, these are things that come up, right? The emotional and mental toll that these things take. I mean, I've worked thousands of claims, and if I can't tell you how many people have lived in that space where they call you crying, they call you angry, they're displaced from their homes, they have to now commute 40 minutes to get their kids to school when the bus used to pick the kid up. Like, these are all things that when they go to trial, they have packaged to have that conversation because the carriers don't want that to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, and it's very, very important to tell that story.
Yeah, you have to create that
to
for
present that. I mean, the reason I've had, I was saying that these claims, the success I've had with these types of claims is often the most rewarding. I mean, I've had clients, tell me things like, "You saved my marriage." Like we were on the brink of divorce from the stress that this claim was causing us. Even to you saved my life.
Yeah. Well, and that's
I
a
thought about
legitimate
ending
thing,
it all.
especially with like hurricanes. And imagine going to bed tonight, you wake up and half your house is missing, half your stuff is missing. You
Right.
now, and especially if you have
No longer
kids,
have income, source of income.
and your place of business may have been destroyed, the place that you went to work for. These are things that while we see it on the news and everybody loves the aerial imagery that goes across and like, look at the devastation. There are people in there that are
And
having to deal with that.
And God forbid they already had pre-existing issues.
Yeah, and then we're just
on top of
magnifying
that,
it. Yeah, we're multiplying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the news always shows the broader scope of the damage, but it's rarely put under when you put it under a magnifying glass. It's what's more striking is the consequences that it has on the people.
Yeah, and then when you have a carrier acting in bad faith who then draws out the recoupment of your property over the course of a year, 18 months, 2 years. So now you've been displaced and your entire life is screwed up because you're waiting on your carrier to do the right thing and act in good faith. Unfortunately, the statistics lean very, very heavily towards the carrier really doesn't care,
Yeah, no, and look, I think what's often overlooked is that insurance companies are for-profit organizations, right? They have a fiduciary obligation to their shareholders that goes above and beyond any and all duties that they have to anyone else, including their policyholders. Right? They have a fiduciary obligation to make as much profit for their shareholders as possible. That is the purpose of a corporation and the function of a corporation. And that's that. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, right? I've been paying my premiums for 30 years to this insurance company. This is the first time I've ever had a claim. I can't believe that they would treat me this way. I think that's what people don't realize, right? Is that this is a corporation. They feel like it's a personal relationship, but to the insurance company, it is a strictly business relationship.
Well, and for a lot of these people, it is a personal relationship because it's the guy who coaches their kids
Right.
t-ball is the guy who sold him the policy. That guy's a franchisee, right? Like when I got out of the Army, the first thing they said was go to State Farm, go to Allstate, they'll do a personality assessment. They're going to help you open your own office. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. Failed every one of those personality assessments, so I didn't get to be an insurance broker. But that's the thing. Go to any small town in the country, and it's John Smith, State Farm, and he sponsors all the T-ball teams and the soccer teams, and he goes to all the kids' events, and we've known him for 35 years. He'd never do anything to screw me. Baloney. His bonus is based on you not filing claims.
And that person is oftentimes powerless, even if they are willing to do something. Look, and there
They're
are some
powerless,
really
but
good
they'll
ones
screw
out
our
there.
life up. They'll screw our life up in a
That's
heartbeat
true.
because they'll be the ones going, no. You need to get 3 bids from your contractor. Don't hire a lawyer. I've got you. I'll help you. They're the first
I'll
ones
make
to
a
do
call
that
for you.
Yep, and then it never ends up well, and then we end up being involved anyway.
But yeah, they tell people you trust the process, or you need to deal with your adjuster. I'm not the right person to talk to about this. And I think that the main reason that people have to retain public adjusters and ultimately attorneys to deal with these claims, a lot of times consumers are very uneducated about what they're purchasing when they buy insurance.
Oh yeah.
If consumers were more educated about what their policies actually cover and what they say and how the language is written and what situations are covered under the policy and how the insurance company is going to handle them or fight them, then I think we would I think the policies would be very different if it was a more educated consumer market. And we wouldn't have as much work, that's for sure.
Well, but you look. So think about it like your car insurance policy, right? Everybody knows their car insurance. You do bodily injury, uninsured motorist, and a bunch of other stuff, and you just go, I need to make this monthly payment palatable, right? So your guy goes back and starts chipping away at things, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, I got the $212 a month payment I was looking for. So we're gonna live a little bit more there when we come back from the break. This is Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
And welcome back to Boots to Business, everybody. My name is Daniel Rabowski. This portion of today's show is brought to you by Golden Temple Builders, Melissa.
Got it again.
Bringing
I messed you up.
Bringing decades of expertise to commercial renovations and remodels. Their commitment to you is clear written pricing options tailored specifically to your project. Visit them at goldenTempleBuilders.com for details or call them at 321-508-0815 and let them help build your vision together, serving Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Costa Rica. In studio with me is Melissa Jacob from Striking Brand. Hi, Melissa.
Yes, it is me. Right
and Jared Shearman from Insurance Claim HQ.
Howdy. Costa Rica's beautiful. You haven't been there. I highly recommend
I have
going.
not. Before the last break, we were talking about policy-specific stuff and the impact that it has on the consumer. And I think that's a good segue into a conversation about the trends that we're seeing, because the carriers are always evolving, right? So if we see something that's working to their advantage or to their disadvantage, and we manipulate that, they'll make changes, right? So trends happen in our industry, and they're very long-standing trends. They're not like a quick thing. It usually takes months to see them start to birth, and then we see the impact, and then it takes us 2 years to fix it, right? Would you? I mean, obviously exaggerating to prove a point, but
I also think that, especially with the recent shift in carriers' approaches to claims handling, I think there's been a phase. It's like the stages of grieving, right? Denial phase. I think it takes a while for people to accept that we've shifted from where it was 5 or 10 years ago, or 15 or 20 years ago, to where we are now, and that this is what you can expect for the foreseeable future, because this is the most profitable model for insurance carriers, is where they have arrived at today.
Yeah, and I saw, just real quick, cliff note here, I saw recently that Lloyd's was showing profit for the first time in 18 months or something like that. Like they were finally back, because after Laura, was it Laura New Orleans?
There was Laura and Delta in Lake Charles, and then Zeta and Ida in the greater New Orleans area.
Yeah, so after that New Orleans storm was the first time, and I could be wrong, I think I remember seeing a thing. It's like the first time in 100 years that Lloyd's of London, who underwrites a vast majority of our policies here, they were not net positive for the first time. And then I think I saw a thing recently that they're back in black.
That's good.
Well, those things can be kind of deceiving, because Lloyd's is made up of a large number of syndicates. So some of them may have been profitable, but Lloyd's overall as a whole, is now showing that. But that doesn't mean that there weren't individual syndicates who invested in the right markets that made money.
Right.
As we kind of talked about, I do want to shift into the industry trends, right? So, I'd say, within the past decade and a half, you've seen that shift in a model from carriers acknowledging that they owe for repairs, fighting over what a reasonable price is for those repairs.
Right.
Paying as little as possible to get the repairs done and close their files out.
Yeah.
To now, they are betting on wearing people down to eventually give up and seek alternative desperate measures, like dipping into their IRAs, retirement funds, taking out high interest loans.
The SBA started doing a thing.
Cashing in
Small
investments.
Business Association started offering loans to help people pay for their insurance claims because their policy holder or the insurance company wasn't.
Correct.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, they've spent a good amount of time, stoking fear amongst people and businesses that they'll be unable to get insurance in the future if they fight their carrier on an existing claim. I think you saw a lot of propaganda in Florida after Ian against policyholder advocates as a whole, whether they be contractors, public adjusters, policyholder attorneys, when I think the insurance commissioner, I may be wrong on this, I'm not 100%, but I believe when his property was damaged, he actually had both a public adjuster
He did have both.
and
yes.
a policyholder attorney represent him on his claim.
I've heard that, and he's very outspoken about using any sort of claim representative, and then he used both.
Right. Yeah, no, and, I think the ultimate model that has proven to be profitable for insurance companies and the main reason that they are shifting to an extremely adversarial approach to claims handling is that they are betting and they're making these bets on a different scale for different locations based on state and further data, local regions within states, but they're betting on how willing people will be to hire an attorney.
Right. It's the law of large numbers.
Right.
They teach adjusters that from the carrier side is deny it, undervalue it, whatever, because statistically people will go, all right, well, I guess I have $5,000 to replace my whole house. I guess my insurance company said that's what it is. They teach that to adjusters when you go work for the carriers. And
most people haven't had to use an attorney for much in their lives, right? Maybe a divorce,
bankruptcy,
maybe a bankruptcy. Most people don't hire attorneys for traffic tickets or they just pay their fines with a payment plan or something. So I think the thought of having to be involved with an attorney at all is a scary prospect to most of the general public.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's a fear. I mean, there's a lot of attorney jokes that have that instill fear.
Yeah.
In people about attorneys, being liars or screwing them over. And I think they're often, they're scared. There was, like I said, there was a lot of propagandizing after Hurricane Ian against public adjusters and policyholder advocates. So that's what the carriers are betting on, is that people are not going to be able to withstand the stress and anxiety and the strain on their lives, and that they will ultimately seek out cheap labor at the local Home Depot or something, or get it done for as cheap as possible and submit receipts on the back end, and ultimately they'll be able to get away with undervaluing these claims.
Yep.
And people will have to have live with subpar restoration work and downgrades to the condition of the property prior to the loss and the overall value of their home.
And that's something, it's a really important thing, because general policy language says like, kind, and quality.
Right.
So if I'm going to fix your stuff, I'm supposed to fix it with something that is a comparable product and a comparable quality. Right. The problem is that they will undervalue that quality and the workmanship, or they'll say, well, we get it that these are $100 a square foot for these floors, but the labor's not what it is. They'll try to find ways to reduce it. So then you end up not with like, kind, and quality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, the idea of an insurance policy, generally, most insurance policies, unless you purchase like an ACV policy or something like that, is to restore the policyholder to their pre-loss condition.
Right.
And that's what protecting your largest life assets is really all about, and that's why you pay for that insurance. But I think people fail to realize, and be like, well, I'm scared I won't be able to get insurance. Well, there really is no purpose in having insurance if you're not going to use it when you really need it.
Right.
And
that's exactly it. And it's not the same. Your property insurance is not the same as your automobile insurance.
No.
Just because you file a claim doesn't mean your rate's going up.
Well,
rates are determined by zip code and how much.
If your rates are going to go up, or they're going to not renew you or cancel you, they're probably going to do that anyway. Once you've made a claim, or they often make those decisions based on geographic location. Risk assessments on a geographical basis.
Yeah.
And once you've made a claim, you're a bad guy in their eyes anyway.
Right.
It's usually unlikely or unlawful that how far you fight it is going to affect those decisions.
That's right. And again, I mean, a lot of times the rates are determined by geographical location. We have that conversation with people a lot of times, and it's hard to get people to rationalize that because they know car insurance.
Right.
So anyway, we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. This is Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. We'll see y'all in a few.
We now return to Boots to Business with Daniel Rabowski.
And welcome back to Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski, and this portion of the last portion of today's show, as a matter of fact, is brought to you by Coastal Claims Services. They are your trusted partner in public insurance adjusting, headquartered here in sunny Florida and serving clients nationwide. They specialize in first-party insurance claims, and when it comes to protecting your home or business and ensuring that you receive a fair insurance compensation, count on their experienced team of public adjusters. You can explore their comprehensive services at coastalclaims.net. Give them a shout. Look them up on the internet. Let them be your advocate for hassle-free property insurance claims. So, in studio with me today, as always, Melissa Jacob from Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
And Jared Shearman from Insurance Claim HQ.
Hi.
And so this is the last part of the show. And so we typically kind of allow the guests to really drive a point home that they want to make sure that people are paying attention to. Obviously, your space is super complex and in depth, yes. And we don't have enough hours in the day to really go through all of the stuff. So if you want to live in that space where we're talking about stuff that you really, really, really want to drive home to people when it comes to their insurance claims, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll run through them like Marshawn Lynch on the Saints defense in the 2000s.
No, I love it.
So the first thing is I want to speak to all of the contractors out there. I want it to be known that I do free reviews of contracts for contractors. I think contractors are in a world that now that the AOB is basically dead in a lot of states and very ineffective in others.
AOB?
And an assignment of benefit.
Okay.
And as also an overall outdated model. As a real need for contractors to be educated on how to build their contracts to allow them to build, say, before an insurance claim is resolved. We really need contractors that are willing to take that risk on for the insured. Yes. Obviously, educated risk, but and I think that it's that a lot of contractors don't realize that this is a model that really does increase the likelihood of success, as well as provide them with a higher profit margin oftentimes.
And the key takeaway to that is that there are lawyers out here that will review contracts and not charge you an arm and a leg to do it.
I review contracts for free.
Now, do you help them fix,
and I give
fix
free suggestions as well. Yes, absolutely.
So you don't have to pay a lawyer hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to review a contract for you to be able to do your job.
Yes,
so
absolutely. I've looked at hundreds of these, and I'm not gonna give you legal advice, but I can definitely explain what things need to be in your contract,
right?
And how to protect your interest in litigation outcomes generally, and in claim outcomes, to allow yourself to feel confident doing that work before the claim resolves, that you're going to be paid, what you should be paid and be paid promptly.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times as a public adjuster I've had contractors come to me and say, "Hey, do you have a template of a contract for Florida? Do you have a template for a contract for Texas?" And you're like, "I'm a public adjuster. Like I don't, no, I don't." But then you try, and then you have to refer them to somebody like Jared. And a lot of times lawyers will charge you a ton of money to just go through your contract, and because they think it's the slice of gold, and it's the same for everybody. There's requirements given by the state. So I think it's great that you offer that service.
I do it free for public adjusters and for contractors.
Perfect.
Now, one of the things that I really want to get into, other than that, is the importance of capturing, bad faith claims handling practices on video. Particularly, it's very important to know whether you're working in a one-party state or a two-party state. In other words, whether the law requires only one party to be aware and consent to the recording for it to be legal and admissible in court, or whether both parties have to be aware and or consent.
And there's a difference between business conversations and personal conversations for that stuff as well, right? Am I correct
Yes,
in that?
and in two-party states, there are some, laws that can affect if like your right to record on your own property. But I do think that it is incredibly important to record these inspections if you can in one-party states covertly. Because I think people are their truest forms of themselves.
As soon as they know they're being recorded, all of a sudden it's rainbows and sunshine.
I've heard a lot of in various states when either claims adjusters or engineers are told they're being recorded, they'll walk away from the property and refuse to do the inspection.
Yeah.
So, well, what were you intending to do here today that you're not willing to do on camera? If you were coming here to do your job the way that you're supposed to and the way the policyholder deserves for you to, then why do you have a problem being recorded?
Right.
And as a Christmas present and to help further protect insureds in as we've said, an increasingly adverse insurance claims environment, I am giving away free hidden camera pens.
Love that.
To any contractor or public adjuster that wants to reach out to me. Obviously, there's a limit per company.
Right.
I can't provide 50 to one company.
Right.
But I am going to give away as many as possible. So I'm gonna give my contact information at the end. Feel free to reach out to me. And that is one way that I think I can both spread the holiday joy and further protect policyholders. I think it's really understated how powerful video footage can be in getting a claim resolved in a very expeditious manner. Yep. Just the powerful effect of either a field adjuster saying one thing and then a desk adjuster turning around and doing something else, and that being captured on camera. As a defense attorney, when you look at that, your immediate reaction is going to be, we need to get this thing closed,
and that happens a lot.
Yes.
Just so you're aware, Melissa, like that happens regularly. Where the person in the field makes a decision, commits verbally, but not in writing, and then by the time a desk adjuster reviews it, all sorts of stuff gets changed.
Yeah. Oh, this roof definitely needs to be replaced. Don't worry, we're gonna get you the money you need. It doesn't even appear on the estimate at all anymore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Happens all the time.
And we've seen adjusters or engineers lie about how long they were at a property, lie about what they did while they were at the property. And all of these things can have a tremendous impact on the credibility of that person as an expert in litigation or potential litigation. So these things can really help get claims resolved earlier and and without having to sacrifice what you're rightfully entitled to get an earlier resolution.
Perfect. So real quick, Jared, we're getting here to the tail end, so I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to tell people how to get a hold of you. Cell phone, email, website, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, however it is. What you got?
Yeah, absolutely. My direct number is 504-910-6221. My personal direct email address for anyone who wants to get in touch with me is Shearman, SHEARMAN .law, LAW @gmail.com.
Okay.
And those are the two best ways to get in touch with me at any given time.
Awesome. Jared, I know we could have talked for another 2 or 3 hours. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming in. It's been a great episode.
Thank you.
as we're wrapping up today, I want to give special thanks to some additional sponsors. We have Apex Performance Chiropractor right here in Orlando. Check them out if you need your back adjusted or some sports medicine type of stuff. Claim Wizard, Public Adjusting and Property Insurance Claim CRM. And the Z Goalkeeper Academy. If you have a kid who plays soccer in or around this area, they want to be a goalie, go to zgoalkeeperacademy.com. This has been Boots to Business. My name is Daniel Rabowski. We will see you guys next week. You can listen to us every Sunday on WFLA from 5 to 6. Thank you for listening.